What's up, y'all? Back at it again with a quick video. I want to talk to you today about something extremely important. And that is the secrets to war. That's right, the secrets to war. Okay, so what we're talking about here is war. Now, when you think of war, many people may think of physical, violent conflict and confrontation, aggression, murder, killing, bloodshed, and that can all be war as well. But many people don't understand the warfare is not necessarily subjugated to solely bloodshed and physical acts of violence. A lot of the physical, or should I say, a lot of the acts of warfare are mental, psychological, biological, chemical. Many of these things are not necessarily physical. So now we have to look at what we're doing. Warfare. We are at war right now. At the very basis of, at the common denominator, at the very basis of it all, we are at war, at a spiritual war. You could call it between good and evil, the God versus devil, you know, a war of ideologies, a war of righteousness. Right now we are in a spiritual war. So, with that being said, there are no spectators in war. With that being said, you and I have to decide whether or which side in this war we are on. So now, if it's a good versus evil, we have to decide, are we working for the righteous side or the unrighteous side? We have to worry about it. We have to think about that. There's two sides. So now, me personally, I would like to think that I side on the side of righteousness. A righteous warrior under what I call God, under what I call righteousness and nature. So this is why I shoot my videos in nature, because I am one with nature, therefore I am a representation and a representative for nature. So with that being said, if we are in a war and we're taking sides, we have to understand what the other side is. The other side that we are facing is a very formidable opponent. To be formidable means to be very challenging to overcome. It doesn't necessarily mean difficult to overcome, but we have to understand first that we are in a war and we are in a what many would call a game. So with that being said, I want to speak about the secrets to war. The side that we're going against, the opposing to righteousness, they know. Many elites and many controllers of our society are aware that we are in what many would call a fratricidal war, what many would call a chemical, biological, and a spiritual war. They've understood this concept for many years. So while they show us images of war and civil war and World War II on certain movies like Braveheart, certain movies like Gladiator, you see these images of war and you solely equate it to physical one-on-one conflict and violence, which it can be. But in those instances, both parties are aware that they are at war. Both of their leaders have come to a mutual understanding that there will be war. Therefore, in these movies, you see that the soldiers have time to prepare their artillery. They have time to arm their artillery. They have time to gather their fleet. They have time to set up their procedures and how they are going to migrate on forward. So therefore, both sides of this war are following then the rules of engagement for war. They understand that there's war, they understand which side they're playing for, and now they are going to follow the rules of engagement in order to gain the advantage over their opponent so that they can rightfully claim the throne in which they seek to possess. Now, please follow along. When we are in this war, if we were to put ourselves into the context of a physical war, say World War II, or any of the wars that you've seen portrayed, and we are one side, we are the blue coats or the red coats, and they're the other ones, we have to first realize and understand the first thing. We are in a war. We have to know that. Our conundrum in current society is it seems that many people are unaware that we are currently engaged in a war. Now, that doesn't mean that there's bloodshed, although there is many bloodshed on the street, as we see as of recently. So now, the war that has been internal, the war that has been spiritual, the war that has been psychological has now been manifested and portrayed, and now it has been externalized and manifested into a physical war on the streets. Now people want to rally, now people want to march, and now people want to get up in arms about it. But if first we're going to do that, the first thing we need to do in order to truly, systematically root out the problem is go to the root. The root is that it's a spiritual problem. It's a spiritual warfare that we don't understand that we're in. I'll say it again, a spiritual warfare that we don't understand. They understand it. Our controllers, our oppressors understand what this warfare is. That's why they don't lie to us. I've made another video about deceit, where we have to understand that our oppressors and our controllers, they are following the rules of engagement, meaning they put out true information, but they don't put out the full extent of information. So it's on us to then go into history. It will then be on us to then go into our times to be able to say, hey, we are in war. Therefore, what we do with that is say, once we're in war, we have to follow the rules of engagement. If we know we're in war, we're not going to fall for the tricks of our enemy. We're not going to fall for the misrepresentation of the truth from our enemy. We understand that our enemy's sole purpose in this war is to gain an advantage over us, as to rule over us. For means to rule over us. So, if we do not want to be ruled over, we have to understand the games, the tricks, and the strategies of our enemy. Not only understand, but then plot a counterattack. I understand that a lot of this may be over some of your heads, or maybe you just don't understand my analogies yet. I'm trying to put it in the most layman's terms as possible, the most culturally and universally accepted terms possible. But all I can say to the most extent is that we have to understand we're in a war. So, with that being said, we then need to look around. Now, when we look around, we start noticing one thing. The truth is around us. It's on us to decide, are we going to accept it? Are we going to seek it out? Are we going to spread it? Are we going to utilize it and then come to our own conclusions from this truth? Or are we going to accept the word from an enemy who has proven to not have our best intentions at mind, right? Which one are we going to do? Would you listen to a person who you knew was your known enemy? No, you wouldn't. Even if you knew he didn't lie, you still wouldn't listen to him because you know his intentions aren't right. So these people have learned to manipulate words and learned to manipulate images, learned to manipulate many people's psychologies even to follow the doctrine of their oppressor. You get it? So now that I liken that to an analogy of if there was say a basketball game and you and me are on one team and two other people are on another team. Different jerseys. My jersey's red, your jersey's red, their jersey's green. So now if we don't understand the rules of engagement, the rules of war, the rules of the game, then we wouldn't understand that my basket is here, my opponent's basket is here. These are the rules of engagement. I need to make my basket here in order to gain an advantage over my opponent. My opponent needs to make a basket here in order to gain an advantage over me. If I don't understand this basic concept, then when I get the ball or when I get the truth or when I get information, I may be liable to shoot the ball in my opponent's goal. So now my opponent's sitting there and letting me shoot my basket into his goal, and he doesn't have to say anything because you're doing it for him. And he's following the rules of engagement. He's not cheating you. You just haven't learned how to fully find the correct information and to shoot the ball into the right basket. So now we have to, as beings of light, learn our information and learn our proper direction. You understand? It's very important to learn our direction because our enemy knows their direction. And by the rules of engagement if they follow the rules of engagement and beat us, they can rightfully sit on the crown. I don't know if any of you watched the Game of Thrones, but it's a very popular show that centers around maybe 5 different houses that want to all, or 5 or 6 different houses, families, ideologies, lineages that all want to inhabit one seat, one throne. 6 families that want to inhabit one throne, and they go about it different ways. But if you notice, many of the people, or the people who have gained the throne before, or the people who are most likely to gain the throne, are people who follow the rules of engagement. So you'll see, even if they have people in captivity, even if they behead people, even if they kill thousands of people, there's rules of engagement, and both sides know they're in a war, and so there's the rules of war. So with that being said, I need you to understand the next phase of this. With that being said, if you understand that we're playing a game and there's rules of engagement, now our next form is to look at what our weaponry would be, right? Because when you have a war, there's weaponry involved. Now, this is the bulk, or this is the very important part that I wanted to tell you. As far as weaponry is concerned, I told you before I'm not very religious, but I am very spiritual. But in my upbringing, Christianity was a basis foundation. Now, I'll tell you again, religion has common denominators. All religions have a common denominator. So we can take certain bits of truth and information from these scriptures. In one of the scriptures that I was told was that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. With that, we're told that all the time, that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So what I wanted to do was break down and dissect what that means. So what I did was I looked in the dictionary, which I feel that everybody should have a dictionary. It's very important. But what I did was I looked up the meaning of no weapon formed against me shall prosper in the dictionary. Now we know it, no, we against, and me. So we know these little words. We know what they mean. But weapon, formed, prosper, what do these words truly mean? A lot of times we use the English language in many languages and we don't know what we're truly referring to. Although we have the correct intent, we don't know what we're truly summoning when we use these words. So when I say no weapon formed against me, what do I mean? Okay, a weapon. Okay, now this is what is in the dictionary, an Oxford dictionary. A weapon is a thing designed or used for inflicting harm. Again, a weapon is a thing designed or used for inflicting harm. The second definition for a weapon is a means for trying to gain the advantage in a conflict. Okay? So the second definition of a weapon, again, is a means of trying to gain the advantage in a conflict. So when we take this in context and understand we're in a war, the enemy has a weapon, right? Everybody in a war should have a weapon. The enemy has a weapon, or a thing designed to inflict harm. The enemy has something designed to inflict harm on us, whether that be a chemical warfare, a physical warfare, a biological device, whether that be misinformation, whether that be deceit. These are what has been designed or used to inflict harm on us, his opposer. So now, these are things that he's used to gain the advantage in a conflict. The conflict is the war. The conflict, it says this in the dictionary. A weapon is something that's used in an advantage in a conflict. So if we are in a war, he's using this misinformation and deceit and biological other devices for means to gain the advantage in the conflict. It goes back to what I said. We're on opposing teams. They want to have the advantage now. So now that we have a weapon, we know what a weapon is. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. We know what a weapon is. It's a thing designed to gain the advantage over your opposer. Now, we go down to formed. No weapon formed against me. What does formed mean? Formed means to develop, to form. To form something, it means to develop, to establish. Again, this is from the dictionary. To develop, establish, to shape, and it's also a form is also an arrangement of parts, or to form is also to build something. To form is also to manifest, or it's also a design, or to design something. You can form something, design something, you can arrange it, you can also assemble it. All these are synonyms for the word form. So now when we use mathematics, if we're using mathematics, we can use variables and say that X equals weapon, a weapon equals X. We know what a weapon is. Now we're going on to Y. Y would equal formed. What is formed? Formed is developed, established, made, designed. So now we can understand that no weapon, which means no thing that is brought against us, right? Nothing that was meant to gain an advantage over us will form. Nothing that we form to gain an advantage over us will prosper. So now, let's follow me. We're almost done, all right? So now, we know what a weapon is, and we know what to form something is. So now they've formed weapons against us. They've created, arranged, designed weapons. They've designed something to gain an advantage over us, okay? But the scripture tells us that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. Now, that's the last part of our research here, because now we come on to prosper. What does it mean to prosper? To prosper means simply to succeed, to progress, or to grow. Okay? So with that being said, what does that mean in the overall scheme of what I'm saying? That means that the scriptures told us that no weapon formed against us shall prosper. In layman's terms, or in scientific mathematical terms, and the very terms that are defined in the dictionary, that would mean that in the scriptures it's telling us that no arrangement, no design, no assembly of man, no manifestation of an opposer that's meant to gain the advantage of us will succeed. You get it? No weapon formed against me shall prosper. That means no thing that was used for me, whether it be a gun, a physical weapon, whether it be a lie, a manifestation from your tongue, because we could use our tongue as weapons. Many times I've used my tongue as a weapon for means to gain the advantage over someone else. I no longer do that. And I asked for forgiveness, and I had to forgive myself for using my tongue as a weapon. The number one weapon in America is not guns. The number one weapon in America is our tongue, and is our intent and our fingers when we're typing these evil comments behind an avatar when we don't even show our face. This is why I'm showing my face to YouTube now, because no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And to take it back to the rules of engagement and the rules of war, we've talked so much about their rules and their weaponry, but now it gets to the bulk of it. Where is our weaponry? What is our weaponry? Again, I'll take it to the scriptures and tell you that our weaponry is the armor of God. Our weaponry is the truth and the righteousness and the natural order of things that already is, already was, and once again will be. That is our overall shield, our natural invisibility cloak. We have all the power in the world through the righteousness and the word and the scientific reasoning of what God put here. God put it all here scientifically. So we have to understand what that means. Therefore, we can decode the matrix, we can decode the scriptures, and then we can use those scriptures as manifestations, as to attest to. We can use that to adorn us in an armor that has no dents or anything. Our armor is flawless in the word of God, because we understand that we are in a spiritual war, so we adorn ourselves in the cloak of the Lord's word and his righteousness and his science that's even prevalent in this world today. So I didn't want to take too much of your time. I hope that this resonated with you. I appreciate you again. I love you, and we all know that we're in this together. Please adorn yourself with the ornament of the Lord, and adorn yourself with the armor of the Lord, and vibrate higher.